Greetings! Anton here with a new camera angle. I just finished getting my new development system set up. It's the first new computer that I have started using in, I don't know, I think like 6 years, somewhere between 6 and 7 years. And in the process, ended up not just setting up my development process, new again, but I changed the way my camera is mounted, the way a bunch of my audio gear is set up. Hence the new camera angle, which is now no longer on a precarious tripod that I kick constantly because basically my VR tracked range is there and the camera is there. So I've actually hit that camera a couple times with my fists. So that should happen less often now. So anyway, what do we have this week? Well, I am this week I did a smaller alpha for the game, hence why we're just jumping into video here instead. Like, there's no reason for me to really show it to you in VR because it's a lot of bug fixes and a lot of little subtle changes, because of the fact that I had to get my whole build pipeline set up again, reinstalled software, had to get like the Steam automated build stuff all set up. I wanted to do something small in case something exploded in this process. I didn't want to both be juggling a really complex change and making sure that all of this works. So because of that, I basically spent a bunch of this week doing a bunch of little things that had been requested by people. Some folks had over the past couple weeks or really months, sent me little things just involving sound, which I'll talk about in a second. But I basically finished implementing the new M-LOK stuff. Pardon me. In that all of the other guns in the game that visually have M-LOK rails on them now actually have M-LOK rails. So that's like the SCR AR-15 pistol, the MX410, the Mark 12, the M2 tactical shotgun, the AKM tactical, P762 Sport ACR, Evo 3 Stealth S1 carbine, and S2 micro. Those all have actual M-LOK rails on them now and are tagged correctly for it. In addition to that, I've made a couple little balance change or two. The refractive encryption in take and hold. Some of you may have noticed when fighting it that when you would shoot it with, say, buckshot or flechettes, it would do basically nothing to it. And the reason for that is the way that encryption works. It's teleport fires immediately upon taking damage. And I mean immediately. So if you had like 10 buckshot projectiles striking it at once, the very first one would do damage and it would instantaneously teleport before the rest of those projectiles got ticked and did damage. So it basically made those weapons impossible to destroy that encryption. I have changed that. So now it teleports and fires a tenth of a second after taking damage. And hopefully I coded that all correctly. And I hope the queue should work on that. But what that basically means is that you can now, if you've got very, very fast firing weapons, like a hyper burst out of a G11, or a really, really fast cyclic rate SMG, or machine gun, or any multi-projectile shot, you should actually be able to land several shots on it before it warps to its next position. Also, I did a little tweak. There's still some problems with the orthogonal encryption. It still can just like get rotation locked in a couple circumstances, and I still don't. I've tried replicating that on my like just letting it run for several hours, and it never broke for me. So it has to be a super rare thing that causes it. But I'm just trying to defensively code around where that might be occurring. But I also changed one big thing about it, which is that now every time it rotates, instead of rotating 90 degrees as it moves, I've changed it to 180 degrees. And I'd like those of you who play Institution and such to let me know what you think about that change. The logic of it is basically that if it's doing 90-degree compound rotations, and some of those directions are random, there is a possibility that a unhit segment of it could continuously rotate and never face towards you. It could essentially just go in a set of 90-degree circles like this, and just, unless you moved dramatically to be able to see it, you'd never see it. Now, with it rotating 180 degrees each time, logically, unless I'm misunderstanding something spatially, it should basically ensure that you always see a given quadrant of it roughly every other rotation that it does. So hopefully that should fix some of the problems where you're just like, you're down in a corner, you're taking fire, and you're like, come on, just rotate till I can see the part I need to shoot. And it just doesn't rotate that way. So I hope that helps. Uh, Other adjustments that have been made, thanks to Jack's Foxtrot, who basically sent a little suggestion about how sounds play for HK style bolt handles. So now when you sort of lock them up and slap them down, there is more prominent sound present there. And actually, I filled in. I don't know how this was the case, but there was actually sound for them going up and down that was present, implemented on things like the Evo series, but not on the old MP5. So that sound profile whoops has been fixed. Also in the category of sound, thanks so much for I don't know how to J Hui to there was basically some new sounds that had come in past meat for types of guns, like the G41 got upgraded handling sounds. None of those were backported to the G series until today. Deagle pistols, the sort of modern 50 Deagles sound great, but the old 357 and 44 had the older slide sounds. Those have been brought up. So, but basically, it just did a bunch of like consistency improvements, tweaked a couple individual sounds that were a little too long or a little too like puffy. Just some like minor stuff, and then just a whole bunch of fixes I won't bother enumerating here. But in general, this alpha was just about me getting like warmed back up to working. Anytime you're dealing with something as complex as like pushing updates of a game and you change what system you're working on, there's like 100 places things can break and go really terribly. And setting this system up was absolutely horrible. Like I use a Focusrite 2i2, Scarlett 2i2 for my audio. And apparently that's super particular about driver versions and how you put the drivers in and which USB port you use. Basically every single step where something could have gone wrong with me setting this computer up, something did. So that absorbed most of my like energy and capacity to be anxious the past 2 weeks. But I'm finally set. The Unity built correctly and everything, and it's like way faster. So this is one of those things that I should have done a long time ago, but system migration is an anxiety-ridden thing for me. So I usually like get my tools, I get my hardware, my software set up in exactly one way, and I'm like, done, I'm never touching it again. But this project has gone on long enough that I finally had to do that. So new system, new year, new Anton. So that is all set up. I did want to also mention, for those of you who watch random things on Twitch, one of the other things, now that I have a more powerful system, because I've been wanting to stream again for a while, but I've avoided it in part because my prior system just couldn't handle the real-time encoding and the Unity editor and everything at once, all my whole software stack. It chugged. I would try to like stream and be in VR at the same time, and it'd be nauseating because the performance penalty of the Unity editor. But that's not a problem anymore. So my plan is to actually start streaming on my Twitch channel again, both a bunch of things. I'm going to probably stream working on some H3 stuff, just hanging around asking questions. I plan to learn Blender this year. We'll see how that goes. So I will probably end up streaming. So if you want to see an old 3D artist learn new tricks and probably curse a lot as I do it, I'll be doing a bunch of that this year. So but if you're interested in that, I have a dev stream channel specifically in the H3 Discord if you want to get notifications when that happens, that I'll be once again posting in there. It has been a while. So anywho, that just about does it. As I said, it's a very small alpha build this week. I just want to make sure everything is right before I start diving in and making some larger changes. There's some other stuff that I have planned for the next couple weeks that I'm super excited about that I won't tease just yet because I don't know what order I'm going to do them in. But I just collated all my to-do lists. I have all my files sorted, and I am just ready to go. Finally, we're 4 weeks into 2024, but I feel like I've finally actually started the year, and have some inertia. So, anywho, I hope you all have yourselves a wonderful weekend, and I'll see y'all soon. Peace.